Deja vu. Back on Apocalypse. This will be the last day of prep on this guy. So Bond sent me the arm file yesterday, so I was able to print another arm, left shoulder. So got that printed. Just got done cleaning up the print. Looks good. I got to do the a little bit of cleanup here and there. It's not bad. But so I got everything in primer yesterday except for this part. So today's going to be all about inspecting all the parts and cleaning up any support marks that I missed or didn't see. And there's some here and there. There's always, I never get everything 100%, but the goal is to get as much as possible. So yes, that's going to be the goal. The work I did yesterday on the seams with the resin, for the most part, looks really, really good. The most important one, the run here in the front, looks really sharp. I can do a little sanding right there. This looks good. I can go in here and redefine some of these little lines a little bit more, just a little more sanding. I do have on the back one here, I could probably do another little small round of resin and sanding to just a little bit, a hint of a hairline seam there. But overall, they look really good. And even though I was sanding on it, it doesn't look like I sanded it. The texture, there's enough in the sculpt that the texture is still there. So I don't have to worry about going back and like resculpting texture, which is always a plus. But as I look at now that I look at this with primer, I can see all support marks that I couldn't see before. So primer really brings out all that stuff. So, and just knowing where Bond supported the parts helps me look for where the supports would be. So I have to look at overhangs and undercuts and things like that. So yeah, so today's going to be a lot of just sanding supports off. But the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to get this arm magnetized onto the body, and that way I can glue it onto his screw. I call it the screwy weapon. I'm not sure what you call this thing, but the big screw thing. Yeah, so that's the goal right now. So let's work on that. So I'm going to get him all apart again. But yeah, so the primer, man, it really just brings out the details really, really nicely. Just get everything to the side here I don't need. So this probably won't be like a 3-hour broadcast because it's just going to be basically me sanding again. I always tell people, if you don't like to sand, don't build models. Let's take all this off. Let's take that off. And yeah, this will need another round of primer anyway because I missed a few spots of the primer. But yeah, I can kind of see support marks here and there. So we're going to get as many of those taken care of as possible. Let's get him off the base. I do need to go to the hobby store and get some more of the big 1/2-inch magnets because I do want to probably add a magnet to this foot too, just as another layer of stability. It probably doesn't need it, but it doesn't hurt. Alright, so when I was slicing this arm last night and getting it ready to print, I made sure to make these holes 1/2 inch. So let's see if I got the size right because the magnet should just go right in. That's the plan at least. They should fit right in. Oh, and they do. Yeah, so it's a perfect little snug fit. It's just a hair small. I thought I made these a 1/2 inch, 12.7 millimeters, but they're a little bit on the small side. So I'll have to just kind of wallow those out just a little bit. And before I do that, I got to mark the location on the body where these holes are going to go. Let's see, I'm getting flare from one of my lights. So let's do that. So I need my blue tack. I work in my lap a lot, so let's do this. The goal is to get this lined up as closely as possible. Okay, so now I got a hole there. And I'm going to use a hand vise. I'm going to eyeball center kind of here. So the reason I was waiting to magnetize these, because now what I want to do is take this arm that's already been glued together and put putty on this key here. Excuse me. Eventually this cough that I have will go away, and I can use that as a guide for here. So now I got a little so I'm not sure if you can see it, but there's like a little peg of blue tack there. And that's where I know that center is, so we're going to do our best to line that up. Okay, so now that one's marked. So for this arm, I'm only going to need the one magnet in the middle here. I don't need more than one magnet. On this other one, I'm going to probably need at least, so let's get those taken care of, and then I'll work on getting the other magnet in there. Let's turn this. I can put him on the base for now. Let's do this. That's the size. I'm going to drill bits out. And we'll start making these holes bigger. We'll start with a 1/8. So I just work my way up. I don't go directly to so I'm just thinking out loud here. What's up, man? How's it going? The house is already kind of there. Okay, my putty just broke loose that I had in there from yesterday, so hopefully I'm just working my way up, so I'm in my lap. Okay, now I wish there was a step between 3/8 and a half. That's a big jump. It's a quarter of an inch of a jump. And that's what I was afraid of. So that cracked out a little bit. So grab the resin. So we'll have to solidify that joint a little bit. Okay. So for this middle one, I'm going to use these guys. Yeah, this cracked out a little bit here. That's the danger about drilling into 3D prints. When you start getting close to the walls, all these big holes, they like to crack out every once in a while. So we'll just have to strengthen that a little bit with some glue. Not the end of the world. It happens. Okay. So let's go ahead and glue these in. The Terrell. I'll have to clean up this key a little bit. Not the end of the world, but We're gonna get the center magnets in, and then I'll on this one that goes on the big screw thing, I'll probably put another magnet down here. It's got a lot of, this thing's heavy. And then we put this on. Hopefully everything lines up. That's the trick. And it does. Sometimes I know what I'm doing, guys. It's not very often. It lines up perfectly. And then there's a little bit of a seam, but that gets covered up by the shoulder pad. So I'm not concerned about it. Okay. Yeah, a little bit of a seam back here, but anytime you have a switch out, there's going to be a seam. But it's very negligible. You don't see it from the front, so that's what's the most important part. I can't get it off of this piece. Okay. So that's done there for now. Let's do the other one. Let's do this arm. Yeah, so get these magnets in. I'll spend the rest of most of the day just clean up support marks and stuff and get another coat of primer on this guy, and then we'll start painting on Monday. My clients sent me some references. We'll probably have a chat on the phone. I'm not going to kill myself like cleaning up. I'm not. I could spend hours cleaning up supports on the bottom of the feet. I'm probably not going to do that just because there's more time. That's not necessary. I'll clean it up a little bit, but I'm not going to kill myself to make sure it's perfect. I'm just going to concern myself on the areas that are really, that you see when it's put together. So, um, yeah, and it's actually, I'm seeing all these areas now that I couldn't see before that need some sanding and stuff. So it's not terrible. It's just tedious work. Crap. Oh, shit, come on. There we go. That magnet got glued on really good to the other ones. That's not good. Let's put that over there. It's kind of beat up now. All right, let's see how this lines up. That works nicely, perfect. And it's got just enough power to hold that arm. That'll work. All right, put that to the side. Now we're gonna add another magnet to this guy to really give it some holding power, because I got this coming on, and then this is gonna have a lot of weight pulling down. I'm gonna glue this on and see. Actually, I may not need another magnet. Let's see. Let's see if I need another magnet. Well, if I do, I'll put one. But shoot, I may not need it. Because these things are pretty. These half-inch magnets are freaking strong. So I'm gonna go ahead and epoxy this guy on, and then we'll see if I need another magnet. Oh, I'm out of epoxy. Shit. I don't want to super glue it. I may have to pause. What time is it? It's not 10 o'clock yet. Damn it. I wish I had some epoxy. Shit. I ran out yesterday. I don't like using super glue. It's too brittle. So I'm gonna go in here and clean up these supports for my print. Maybe a very short broadcast because I need to go to the store. But I could go to Home Depot and get epoxy, but my wife does not like the smell of that epoxy, so I try not to use it. I don't think it smells that bad. I actually think the stuff I get at the hobby store smells worse, but she's sensitive to the stuff I get Home Depot. So I just put the stuff at Hobby Town. All right. So I can also clean the supports. I've had some supports around here on this part. Again, once I get this in primer, I'll be able to see them better. But I know I just do a really light sanding. I put when I supported this, I had all the supports coming up here up on the inside underneath the arm, so it's not as noticeable. There shouldn't be any on the outside. This print looks pretty good. I don't see any print lines or anything. So it came out nice. Let's look at it compared to Bond's print. This is gonna be better than mine. Actually, they look pretty damn close. They look good. Yeah. Okay, well I can't put, damn it, that pisses me off. I wish I had some epoxy. I mean, I could use super glue, but don't really want to. It'd probably be okay. There's a lot of surface area here. Give me a really strong joint. Oh, I do have to fill this hole because I see it. So let's do that real quick. Let me see of my two-part putty. Where is it? There it is. So I'm going to fill this hole right here because when you put the arm in, you can see it a little bit. I'm sure those are the right lids. When you're working with two-part epoxy putties, you don't want to get your lids mixed. You don't want to get your lids mixed up because that could cause unwanted curing of your putty. Okay, well, I'll broadcast till about 10 o'clock because that's when Hobbytown opens. I'm gonna get some more. Yeah, I'll just super glue it. I think it'll be fine. The way it's shipping as an individual piece, it'll be plenty strong enough. One thing I'm going to do though before I do that is I'm going to get some little spray booth. I'm going to take some lacquer thinner and clean off the primer from this joint. So I have resin on resin. We have a good bond. Fill that hole, and then we'll be good to go. I don't see the whole hole. Does that make sense? I don't see all of it, but it does peek out. I don't want to see that after paint. Pack it all in there. I made a lot, but so when I'm putting and I'm putting stuff in these holes, I make enough so that I can push it down in there and it grabs onto the supports on the inside. And that helps support the putty and just adds a little more strength to everything. So that's why that makes up quite a bit, and I just force it down in there. And it gives the putty something to grab onto. Okay. So this doesn't have to be pretty because, again, I only see like a little edge of the hole when the arm's on. So I'm just, now when I put this arm on, you're not going to see any of that. So that's the whole point behind that. So I put a good bead of thick super glue in there. So I get a little bit ooze out. Now it fills all the gaps and stuff. And that should give me a nice strong joint. 99% of the time I use epoxy, but this will be fine for this. This isn't anything structural. It's not like the legs that's supporting anything. If I was doing this on the boots or the legs, I wouldn't use super glue. I would definitely wait to go get epoxy. But since this isn't structural, this is going to be more than enough to support this. I'm not going to use kicker. I'm just going to let it dry naturally. I'm going to hold it for a few minutes. So use kicker. What happens is it creates bubbles in the glue. And I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to let it dry naturally. I did. I'm using it right now. Here's the shoulder file right here. I printed it last night. Came off the printer this morning, washed it, cured it. So now I got 2 shoulder files. Okay. I think I'm just going to hold this. There's quite a bit of glue in there, so I'm going to. This is me holding this for 3 to 5 minutes. Now this sets up. But when I glue things, my goal is to put enough glue in there that I get a little bit of ooze out so it fills all the gaps and everything, but not too much where, I mean, when I'm doing epoxy, I tend to overdo it. I'd rather have a lot coming out and me cleaning it up. That means it just fills the gaps. I got a really good bond on all the surfaces. Because when you're gluing things, you want to make sure that your whole surface has contact with glue. So like a good example is when I was gluing this relief on, I brushed epoxy all over the one side and all over this side, and I clamped it on, and I had epoxy oozing out everywhere. And I just cleaned it up as I was curing, and that just gave me a really good bond on the whole surface. Because you don't want weak spots in your glue joints. So again, if something were to get bumped or nudged, it's going to find that weak spot in your glue joint, and that's where it's going to break from or crack out. So I'm looking at this base as far as like cleanup goes. I've got some support marks on this skull. So everything was supported in this direction. I got to look on these columns to see if there's anything I missed. I'm not seeing a ton right now, and more than likely, also, as I start painting, I may see more. There's some here on these little details. Let me try to get out. That's the one downside to kind of pre-assembly and then priming is because a lot of times you'll see support marks that, oh, now I can't get to it because it's put together. So, but it's better. I'd rather do that than do all this priming work and everything and then glue it together and have glue. It's just it's kind of way what works best. But I'm not, I'm seeing some stuff here. It's not crazy. I'm seeing more on these parts as far as supports marks go, where all the undercuts and overhangs were. Could put a clamp on this. I like the clamp parts. Let's make sure I get it really good. question. You got to find the right angle to clamp so it puts pressure in the right spot. I don't want to clamp on that. I could break that off. That'd be bad. Right there. But when I'm clamping these parts, I'm putting quite a bit of pressure on them. That's why the resin that's used is really important. It's got to have a little bit of flex to it, so it can take the pressure of the clamps. So I want that glue to spread out all over that joint. So I'm just gonna set that to the side and let that again dry naturally. It's starting to kick off. I can see as super glue dries, it creates a fog, and it creates like a cloudiness on your part, which is no big deal because you just prime over it. Okay, so now it's just a matter of going through and inspecting all the parts and cleaning up anything I missed in the initial cleanup. So get all the sanding utensils out, sanding sticks, sanding sponges. I don't need fine, that's too coarse. Even super fine's too coarse. I could probably get away with some. I like ultra fine, which is like 800 grit, and super fine. And then I got, I don't need that. That's way too coarse. That's like for really initial cleanup. And then I like these little sanding sticks. I wish they were labeled on what grit they were. They're not. I just kind of go by feel. Like this blue is kind of like the right grit. Maybe yellow. I can kind of feel and say, okay, that's about a 300, you know, 320 or 400 grit sandpaper. All right, so this was supported all along here. And from what I can tell, it does help if your lights are kind of at an angle, because it'll show the supports will throw a shadow. So that's kind of what I use it. So like right here, this light is throwing a shadow, and it shows me there's still some supports here. And right here. And the primer will act kind of like as a sanding guide. I'm not going to kill myself cleaning up all the supports in here. Again, this is time wasted. You don't ever see it. So why, spend 30 minutes cleaning that up? And it's not bad. Doesn't stick out. So. So I'm not sure if it shows them in camera, but as I'm seeing, it probably not 'cause it's too bright. You can see where the primer gets in the low spots. So it's like a good sanding guide for. Vaughn's pretty good about putting supports in the least noticeable areas too. You have to just look at the part the way it. So if I was printing this part, he puts supports here, and I understand it because it's a thicker edge. But in the way it prints, if you support it here, then this is the part that you actually see the most because it's on the outside of the shoulder, is the inside. But I understand why you did this. This is it's a bigger edge. You have more room for support. Yeah, I should be able to get this in the last coat of primer today, which will put me in good shape for Monday. I'll start slinging paint. I'm constantly feeling over the part too, because even though I don't see something, I'm able to feel it. So since this was supported here, I know I have to maybe look over on these edges too to see if there's any support marks. And there's some way up underneath the shoulder here. Let's see if we can get them out. Overhangs. And if you do 3D printing, you know where to look for them. If you understand how parts have to be supported, you know where to look for support marks when you're cleaning up prints. So it's helpful if you kind of know the process. I'm just going to do a light sanding in there because, again, it's way up. I mean, it's way up in there. Unless you turn this way up on its edge like this, you're never going to see way in there. And even some of the really high quality prints I get, from custom groups, even stuff from Ownage, in very, very, obscure areas, you might find supports and stuff, support marks. But again, they're in areas you'll never see, and they probably just couldn't get to them to clean them up. So I think this part looks really good. So when it's on the shoulder, that little support there. Sometimes you get supports that kind of, nope, that's part of the detail. Okay, I almost took that out. Sometimes as things are supported, the actual support will get stuck to the side of a part. Okay, so I think that part's done. That looks good. I'm gonna put that to the side over here to let me know that I'm happy with that. Let's look at the head. Okay, so there's some underneath here, the chin. And I'm not putting a lot of pressure on my sanding. What I don't want to do is sand out any details. So the head will support on the bottom, so then I need to look like on these little things around his ears, where these things are. I had a toothbrush out here yesterday. It's got a little support right here. This detail line. I'm just gonna try to cut it off. I don't want to sand that. I'm using a fresh blade here. There's a little support. There's a detail line right here, and there's a really small support underneath it. So I'm using this new blade to kind of cut right up to it because I don't want to try to sand it off. I'll obliterate that detail line. Again, looking under here. Sanding sponges are your friend because they conform to the shapes real easily and they're not super aggressive. Constantly turning this in my light to see. You want to look underneath eyelids and noses and lips and teeth. That looks really good. I think this is the best print I've gotten from Bond so far. It's really nice. So these pipes, when these get printed, depending on the orientation, there'll be little supports between each segment. And I think I got those all in my initial cleanup. We'll see if I missed any. But they were super, super thin, really, really light supports, and they just kind of flaked off. I didn't have to do anything to get rid of them. Nothing, anything that just pops out, that sticks out. If I don't see anything that sticks out, that's good to go. These look great, man. Vaughn's got it dialed in. He's got his settings really, really good. I'm gonna go visit him, get some lessons in printing. I think 3D printing's an art form. It really is, because you gotta. I was kind of dreading these pipes because of all the segments, but they look really good. A little. A little crack out right here. I'm just gonna put a little glue on it, and from when I was drilling my holes for this magnet, I kind of drilled through the hair a little bit. And if it's a little messy, I don't care, because there's actually there's texture sculpted in these pipes. So if it's not a perfectly smooth glue joint, it's okay. It'll match the rest of the texture around it. I just want to close it up so it's not obvious. Just like that. Okay, that looks good. So far, my initial cleanup was good on these parts. How is this guy supported? I don't even, your pulsing support marks up down here. Okay. This is a 240 grit sandpaper, sanding stick. And a lot of times I don't even go back and do a finer sand after this, because the style rest fills in the 240 scratch is actually really, really nice. It's surprising how well it does. Depending on where I'm sanding. If it's something like super, super obvious, then I'll go like the super fine or the ultra fine. But for the most part, I don't even follow it up. Looks good. These flames gonna need some work. I was priming, I noticed a bunch of support marks on the flames. So these will take a little work. So if you guys, there's a group in Facebook called Custom Produced. They have a YouTube channel. I hung out with them last night on YouTube for a couple hours. It's a really good chat. It was me and a couple other painters, just talking about the hobby and stuff, and it was a good hangout. And then we hung out for like an hour after the chat. It was after midnight before we all signed off. Like, man, I'm tired. I gotta go to bed. My stomach's growling. I guess I'm hungry. I can't tell if that's a printer error or that's supposed to be there. It looks like it's supposed to be there. I'm just gonna leave it. Okay. These little guys are gonna take a little time because there's you got all these little flames and stuff that got supports in them. It's constantly turning the light. Way up in right here, just some really, really tiny, extra small supports. Can't find, probably didn't even do anything. They're so small. See, every time I turn this on light, I see something else. Okay, I think I'm happy with that one. All right, let's check on this. This should be dry by now. Let's see if this magnet is enough. Where do the apocalypse? On the floor behind me. Let's see. It might be. Well, shoot. That's pretty strong. I might, as I thought I'd want to kind of turn down like this. So I think I might need to add a magnet at the top up here to keep it from torquing down so much. The other solution is to kind of rekey it because the key's a little loose. Throw some kick around this to get the rest of this set up. It's strong enough to hold it on. It's got plenty of power to keep it from falling off the arm. But since there's so much weight on this end, it wants to pull it down a little bit. I'm not sure who that is. Someone was calling me. Don't know who it is. They can leave a voicemail. Yeah, so I think my gut instinct is telling me to add another magnet. Better to be safe than sorry, right? So it really needs to go at the top here. I'll give it a lot of pull. So let's do that. Hope there's enough room up there. What's the next size down? I may not have enough room for a 1/2-inch magnet there. It's really close to the edge. It's yeah, that's. I don't know if what size is this? This is the. I wish I had some 3/8-inch magnets. That'd be perfect, actually, for this. Let's see here. I'm careful. Only a little putty work to do here in this arm, in this key nail. Not the end of the world, but. cracking out. I was afraid that would, since it's so close to this edge, that it would crack out. It's kind of a risk you're taking when you're drilling into 3D prints. Okay, so you gotta be careful since there's a magnet real close here. You gotta check the polarity and make sure that it doesn't want to repel. So I'm thinking it needs to go this way. You know, I want to make sure that it's on a kind of a concave, convex surface. So I want to make that magnet recess just a hair, ever so slightly. Yeah, got the arm printed this last night, Tony. It's right here. Got it glued on. So I'm putting the magnets in. Magnets are flying everywhere. Come on. When they do that, they start to break. When they slam together, they shatter. And that's no fun because metal fragments go flying everywhere. Let that dry. Yeah, just this part's all I needed. Because initially, if I would have just had the one to switch out, it would have been at the elbow joint, and there's not a lot of meat and just the physics of it. I didn't. There's a lot of weight pulling straight down on this. Where here I have on the shoulder, the physics. It's more of a lateral movement than a down pull. So that's why I want to put the switch out at the arm, up at the shoulder joint rather than the elbow joint. So I kind of went over that when I was doing the initial planning of this. Like that'd be a better place to do the switch out, would be at the shoulder joint. So I don't know if I've done this correctly. We'll see. It should work. Yeah. Now I got a really good joint here. And it doesn't want to pull down like it did before. So there you go. You got that switch out. And you got that switch out. Not bad for a pull lock. So I do have to go in and I got to, I'm going to fix this key a little bit because when I drill this hole, it cracked out a little bit. So I'm going to glue this and sand it because I don't want that to become a problem later on. So I'm going to work on kind of cleaning this up a little bit. Again, I don't care if it doesn't have to be pretty because you don't see it, but have you ever had an issue with magnets just disintegrating? Uh, so yeah, I've never seen that, but I have. It's the fact the magnets the factories used are typically really low grade magnets. They're not very high quality. So two things, they're not very strong. So that's sometimes I get stuff I have to replace. Even stuff from Onage I've gotten the magnets aren't strong enough. I've had to replace magnets, which is a pain in the ass. You had to dig them out. But I have seen that where they're just not high quality and they fall apart. So yeah, I've seen that before. I mean, magnets are expensive. Good magnets are not cheap. Like I was saying, these big half-inch magnets right here. These are like over $2 a piece. These big half-inch by quarters magnets, but they're crazy strong. I did find I was buying these at my hobby town. Um, so these are half-inch. Oh, that's the ones with the holes in them. The price is missing, but this $18.99 for 8 magnets for 8 of these guys. So is that right? You get 8 of these. So over $2 a piece for these guys. Did find a place locally here that all they do is sell magnets, earth magnets. Like holy shit, and their prices are better. So I can go buy them. I went and stocked up a bunch on smaller magnets a few months ago, and I just drove and picked them up, and the prices were great. I was using KJ magnets for a long time, but their prices went up. And they used to have a really good discount area where the sizes were kind of wonky. They were metric sizes, but they were close enough so you know for what we were doing. So I'd just go buy off their discounts section, but last time I checked, that wasn't there. Yeah, so it's cracked out a little bit right here. I'm just gonna I injected some glue into the joint. And again, this doesn't have to be pretty because it's in the key, but That's something that, like when you get an owner's print, like their prints are clean. Like all the keys are really clean. They're really their their work is just really good. What time is it? I do have a client come over, and a local guy coming over at noon just for a quick touch up. Yeah, I primed him yesterday, so I got him. I got the first round of primer on it yesterday, Tony, and then today is going to go through and get all the support marks that I missed in the initial cleanup, and another round of primer, and then the prep should be done this afternoon. We'll start painting on Monday. Okay. Alrighty. So I do like to fill. Sometimes these magnets, the holes in them, these are still half-inch, but I like to fill these holes with glue. It just kind of helps keep the magnets. I don't feel like it. There's no layer of support for the magnets. Yeah, so if you look at I posted the link to the video, the broadcast I was on last night. I posted it on both my pages, so you can check it out there. It's very similar to what my Rad Titan thing, but there was me and a couple other painters on there, so it was fun. And the funny thing, the funny thing is, uh, a Dwayne, who's now a new client to me, he was on the broadcast. I didn't realize he was my client because he didn't have his real name up on the screen. He had some handle. And he's like, "Yeah, you did my beats." Like, I did. He's like, "Yeah, I'm Dwayne." He's like, "Oh shit, I didn't." Because he's like, "Don't you look at people's?" It's like, "Yeah, but your profile picture like is like a profile view of your face, and So it was funny. I didn't realize I was talking talking to one of my clients. It's a good thing I didn't say anything bad about him. That'd been embarrassing. Okay, so again, this doesn't have to be pretty. I'm just trying to. I had a little crack out here from the drilling, so I just injected some glue into those joints, sand a little smoother just to solidify it, and we should be good to go. All right. So now it's just again more sanding, looking for support marks, and sanding, and then primer. So I'll stay on for a little bit longer because it's already been an hour and a half. Wow. I didn't know Custom Produced is actually a group. It's a group. I don't know if they're private or not. I don't think it's private. I think you can join, but they focus on custom pieces. So like last night was a custom versus commercial piece, and they're comparing the old OG XM Magneto on Throne to a new custom piece, and it was like, well, which one is better? Which one do you think is better? And kind of like that discussion, and why do you like this one? And that, so it's that kind of thing. Um, I just saw something on this one that I need to look for this on this one. So I was looking at this little urn, and I saw some support marks on the wood. I didn't even think to look at the wood. And so I go back and look at this one and see if there's any support marks on the logs. That's super glue on my finger. I'm trying to get it off. I do have a local guy coming over for a few minutes around noon. He's got a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle piece that I repainted the eyes on a few of the heads, but there's like a little chip out on the back of the neck. And he's like, "What would you charge me to fix that?" I was like, "Well, I have my minimum fee." It's like, to be honest, it's so small. I would just touch it up with some paint. Don't spend $100 fixing the tiniest little chip. That with a little bit of paint, you're not going to really notice. So he's like, "Well, how much would you charge me to do this?" Like, just bring it by. I'll do it while you wait. It'll take me a few minutes. So he's gonna come by. And I'm gonna fix that little chip for him, or just touch it up with some paint. I just got to color match the paint. So it's like statue repair while you wait. Start a new service. Repair while you wait. That's like 1 hour repair. To cast this in clear resin, you'd have to find someone that knows how to make molds and cast it. I'm not a. I've only made molds once, and they were passable for your Samurai Wolverine. Um, that actually would be pretty cool. So you could have them printed in clear. That's one way to go. So you can have them printed in clear. I really hate working with clear resin, to be honest. So like the Bishop I did, they had a lot of the base was printed in clear and the big fist was printed in clear. It made cleanup a nightmare because you can't see the support marks and you can't put primer on it because it's clear. So it was such a nightmare to clean. I mean, but I started throwing paint on it. It's like, and I saw all these support marks on the clear parts. Like, oh shit! It's just it's. I don't know. I hated working on it. It's just really because you know you can't see the support marks until there's paint on it. But so you start throwing paint on it. By that time, it's too late because you can't prime it. You gotta. I can't throw gray primer to find the supports. But I like where you're going with that. I think it'd be cool. Molding and casting it would be better if you could do that, because then you don't have to worry about support marks. You'd have a seam line to fix. And I think the problem is these little rings. These would not survive. I don't think these would survive molding and casting. Poured resin would be better. Just the cleanup would be easier. And like I said, with printing in clear, you can't see the support marks because they're clear. There's nothing. There's like I can throw a primer on this. I can turn it in the light and I can see all the support marks. But with clear, you just can't see it. But and also like this little guy, if you're gonna mold and cast this, what I would do is I would cut off these rings and mold and cast this, and then add real metal rings to it. That's what I would do. I don't think these would survive. They're really small and delicate. But yeah, I'm not. I've only made the only molds I've ever made, Tony, were for your Samurai Wolverine blades, and they worked. But that was that was a really simple thing to is there's no undercuts or anything like that. Um, but I don't see why this couldn't be molded and casted. Um, it's a little complicated, but I think anyone who knows what they're doing could do it. Ideally, what would be is the urn would be one piece, and then if you had the flames in the wood as a clear piece, that's like ideal. Now, if you can find, I don't know how to cut and key, unfortunately. I really need to learn how to do that because I get asked all the time, "Can you cut and key this?" I was like, I wish I knew how. Um, if you have the files, you can go in and cut the wood out and make that a key and have the urn a separate piece, and then print the flame and the wood and clear. That would actually be relatively easy to clean up, I think. Yeah, so I think we'll still paint these up, but if you want to look at getting some made in clear, talk to Angelo, see what he says, see if he can do it for you. These are magnetized, you can switch them out. Switch out flames. I've already got these all magnetized. I'll just have to put magnets in the other ones. And we can always add them on later, add them to the piece later. Again, the only thing I would actually need the base to know the polarization of the magnets. Or I could drill the holes for the magnets and you could put them in yourself. It's not that difficult. So yeah, we can talk about that. That's definitely an option. Yeah, but my experience with clear resin, just cleaning it up, it's really a nightmare. It's so hard. You just can't see anything. And like that bishop I did, since everything was printed hollow, there's support. You can see all the supports to the piece. These are printed solid. Um, I wouldn't haul these out either. Um, but I just gotta keep track of time. Oh, it's only 10 o'clock. I'll broadcast for a little bit longer because this is what I'm gonna be doing the rest of the day. Is this looking for support marks and cleaning them up. It's kind of amazing, even though all the the prints in gray. Once you throw the primer on there, all the details really pop. It's kind of funny how that works. Even though the resin's gray, the primer is what really shows up, brings up the details. I didn't get the whole file. He just sent me the arm. So maybe reach out to Bond and he could just print one of these for you, or ask him for the file. Maybe I don't know. You can buy the file. It's from Wicked, so the file you can buy is probably 20 or 30 bucks just for the file. So I have some. Maybe I'll reach out to some people about cutting the fire and the flames away from the urn and doing it that way, and then keep the urn one piece, and that way you don't have to, and then just print 4 urns. So they are not all the same. They all key in a specific spot. Good point. So the way the keys are is they're slightly off centered on each post. So I'm glad you mentioned that's true. So they actually all do have a specific spot that they fit because each key is slightly off centered. Um, so yeah, they're really not they are interchangeable to a sense, but then they're not centered. So, and right now the way I magnetize, I've got them set. So like this key is way in the front of this circle. So if I try to put this one here, it's not going to do because the magnets are off, but you can see it's going to overhang. It's going to push it to the front. So yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because they are not all the same. They're all different. And the flames are sculpted slightly different on each of them. So yeah, so like, oh man, you mean you could technically, no, you can't do that. Yeah, you'd have to do them for, you have to do 4 individuals. Um, I mean, it's up to you. I'm not sure what that would cost to have these all, 4 molds. You'd be getting one-offs, unless you could sell them as an option. Hey, I got these. Um, well, then whoever prints it had to be printed in the same scale. This is at 138% of the original size. This particular print. I was just thinking maybe you could try to recuperate some of your costs by selling that as an option to people who have this piece, but it had to be printed in the same scale. I don't see a lot of guys printing this base this big. It's huge. Yeah, just thinking out loud. Ideally, all these keys would be the same. They'd all just be centered, and all these would be the same. You could just, and it wouldn't matter where they went. That's like, I can kind of get why they did that. They didn't want all the flames to look the same, so I kind of get it because that would look really unnatural. But in the long run, I don't think anyone's gonna notice. Oh, all the flames look exactly the same. You know, to me, I'd be like, who cares? The flames are a decoration. You're looking at apocalypse, and the flames are just they're eye candy. So I can kind of see why they did it that way. I think this one's looking pretty good. I'm just constantly turning this in the light to see if anything sticks out. It's the flames that I didn't get any cleanup done when I was doing the initial cleanup. I didn't notice any support marks on them. But once I started shooting primary yesterday, like, oh yeah, look at all the supports underneath the flames. And that makes sense. There'd be supports there. That looks good. A lot of details to go through. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know how Bond determined 138%. That's something you have to ask him. I just know when I got this file, he's like, you need to scale that to 138% for it to fit. So I don't know what made him decide that size. So if I compare, so I have this Age of Apocalypse kit. Tony, I did one for Tony last. It's funny, actually, my memories are coming up. This is the exact same time last year. I was working on an apocalypse for Tony. The same client. so, come full circle, Tony. A year later, we're doing another apocalypse. Same time of the year. uh, Completely different concept and sculpt, but it's apocalypse nonetheless. So I have that kit. I own that Age of Apocalypse kit. I'm looking at it right now, and he's massive. He's definitely bigger than this guy. But I'm not sure if that's, maybe that Age of Apocalypse is a bigger character than normal Apocalypse. Hell, I don't know, man. It's all fiction anyway, so. So this is the kind of day where I just throw on music, and I just sit here and I do this all day. It's just and hope I get everything. I always tell people my work's not perfect, guys. It's as I do the best I can, but it's not perfect. There's always room for improvement. Yeah, the most important part is that, um, even though we're whoever artists are always hypercritical of their own work, the most important part is that the person who's paying for your service likes what they get. They're happy with what they're getting. So even though I might see, oh, I could, I missed that little support there, or there's a seam line there I didn't quite get. In the long run, 99% of whoever's going to look at that piece, they would never notice those little things. But part of it is you're just sitting here and you're just looking at this piece for so long, and you're looking at it from every single angle. You know where all the areas are that need work. Is my client ever going to pick up this base and flip it upside down and look at this with a microscope? Probably not. I don't know, Tony, maybe you will, but I doubt it. So when you're here with an optivisor, you're looking at these things really close. It's an unrealistic view of what you're looking at, but it's what you do while you're working on it. That makes sense. So as you're working on the piece, it's an unrealistic viewpoint of the piece. I say this all the time. So like in the world of photography and just art in general, there's a viewing distance to art, to photographs. And depending the size of the photograph determines what distance you should view that piece from. The bigger the print, the further away you should look at it, the bigger the photograph. So, like for instance, if you were to take a billboard that you see driving down the road, and you were to walk up to it, like and look at it from a few feet away, those ink dots on the billboard are this big. The pixels are that big. So you never. It doesn't make sense to look at it that close because it's not. It doesn't translate. Same thing with models and stuff. Even though you go to a contest and you get these big pieces and people are getting in there with magnifying glasses and flashlights and looking at them real close, it's really kind of an unrealistic uh, way to look at it. The bigger the piece, you should stand back and take it in as a whole. And then if you want to go in and look for some tiny details, do that. But as a general rule, the bigger the piece, the further away you look at it from, so that it translates well. That's one reason why mini painters, when they paint with a lot of really vibrant colors and a lot of contrast, because it's got, in order for that to sell, that effect to sell on that small of a scale, you've got to exaggerate all that stuff. So, because unless you have a magnifying glass, your eyes physically cannot see that close. So you've got to trick the eye into seeing the details. So that's why that's why I have a really good, I have a huge appreciation for mini painters, because they are so good at, they're really good ones. They're really good at bringing out all the details and tricking the eye to see all that stuff at such a small scale. I need to go get my eyes checked again, because I feel like everything's blurry right now. It's been a few years. I can tell now that I paint full time and I'm constantly looking at these things close up like this, that my sight is maybe progressing a little faster than it should be. Um, okay, I think this one looks pretty good. Once I throw, typically I do 2 rounds of primer on stuff. I'll do like one more after I prime this again today. On Monday, I'll do one more quick just inspection before I start slinging paint. And if I see something that just sticks out, I'll fix it and do a spot prime on it. But this is the stage where I really go through and I really kind of examine everything as closely as I can. Yeah, 12D, that's about right. Yeah, 12 DPI. That's why they're the size of grapefruit. Maybe not grapefruit, maybe golf balls or softballs, but they're big. Because I remember seeing that. I remember when I was going to school at RIT up in Rochester, one of the things we did in one of my photo classes, when we were kind of discussing that, we went to a print shop that printed everything from, flyers to billboards. And send me a... Hold on, Tony. What do you say? Okay, I'll have to check to see if I got it later. I can't look while I'm broadcasting, Tony. Um, but yeah, I remember we went to visit a print shop, and it was mind-boggling to me as it was new to me that the resolution on those were so low. But that was like a very eye-opening, useful lesson in viewing distance and DPI and resolution and all that stuff when it comes to printing. And that was back in 1999, 98, 99. Yeah, so 26 years ago. God damn, I feel fucking old now. Shit. When I put it in perspective, it's like, oh yeah, it's 26 years ago. It's like, damn. I'll be 49 next month. Okay, that's really good. Did I get through all the urns? Did I do all 4? No, there's one more. Yeah, so Tony, when I send this to you, I'll label where the urns go. I mean, you'd be able to figure it out on yourself, but they do have a specific spot as far as where they line up the best. Oh, damn it. Which one did I pulled one to, is this one I haven't cleaned up yet? Yeah. So all it was like, left front, right front, that kind of thing. So you're not sitting here, and after, the way the magnets are, it's kind of hard not to mess it up, but you're a pretty smart guy. I think you could figure it out. I hope I have a long ways to go. That's we'll see. My dad died young. He died at 59, and my father-in-law died at I think he was 60 a few years before that. My dad was he was a smoker most of his life, and then when he found out that me and my wife were having our first kid, he decided he wanted to get healthy and stop smoking. And so he stopped smoking and was seeing a doctor about all of that, and he was really successful in that. And then he went to his GP and it's like, hey, look, I just want to be checked over. I'm gonna be a grad dad. I want to make sure I'm healthy and I'm gonna be around for him or her. And like he told his doctor, like, I want you to check my lungs. I want you to. He's like, I've been smoking all my life. I want you to check my lungs to make sure that they're in good shape. And the doctor's like, well, you're only 58, 59. That's a little young to be checking. I was like, yeah, but I'm a smoker my whole life, so just go ahead and do it. So they did, and they found like this tiny little bit of cancer. It was so small. The doctor said that if we had checked your lungs like a month prior, probably wouldn't have seen it. It was so small. So they caught it like right at the very beginning, the best time you could catch it. So he had surgery, and everything was going good. And he was in ICU for a few days because it's a major surgery. They took out part of his lung, and he was in a normal room when he had a pulmonary embolism through a blood clot, stops his heart, and I wasn't there when it happened. I was a couple hours away on a photo job, but I got a call from the hospital while I was on my way home. It's like, you need to get here. Just, your dad's not doing hot. I was like, what the fuck? So I'm like doing 100 miles an hour from West Texas to get home, and that's when they told us that he had basically had a blood clot, pulmonary embolism, stopped his heart, and he's basically under for 7 minutes. And they got his heart going again, but he was brain dead. So yeah, that was tough. And then my mom kept him on life support for 7 weeks, and me and my sister were like, he's gone. You can't. That's not what he would want. So we finally convinced her 7 weeks later to unplug him, and yeah, he passed away. Once life support was, he wasn't on life support. I take that back. He was breathing on his own, but he had a feeding tube and all, and they were pumping him full of medicine to keep him from getting infections. But once they stopped that, it was like within a day that he passed away. So that was rough because he was looking forward to being a granddad, and that's kind of why he went through this whole let's get healthy kick. And so he got to be a grandfather for a few months before he passed away. It was really sad. And my father-in-law never got to meet our kids because he'd already passed away. Or he passed away from lung cancer too. So I've never smoked in my life, but I'm around these paint fumes. I do wear a mask, but I need to lose weight. I got on a health kick a couple years ago. I did really good. I lost like 35 pounds. I was riding my bike every day, every 2 days. I was eating better. So I need to wake up and just live life better. Yeah, after after we had a really good neurosurgeon, and I'll say the first week and a half, where after this had happened, he's like, you know what? It's like I'm seeing there might be some signs of activity there, so let's not make any hasty decisions. But after like the week and a half, he's like, yeah, there's nothing there. It's like he's brain dead. So my mom had him transferred to like a specialized facility that deal with patients like that, and she was hoping he would wake up. Like, mom, even if he woke up, he's not going to be there. It's not going to be the same person. All those memories and everything, those are gone. You know. And my dad never had a DNR, so it took me and my sister. I mean, it kind of got it's really sad. But it kind of got to the point where I stopped visiting him because wasn't visiting my dad. I was visiting really a corpse. You know, it was as depressing as that sounds. My dad was gone. It was just just a body. So I guess I have a very kind of factual way of looking at stuff like that. Okay, I think. Damn it, I keep seeing just little. Pretty good. Okay. So now I get to look at all these parts and scrutinize these. Yeah, I still 3D print. Not much, man. I'm only printing when people. Yeah, I still need to get the fan replaced. It works. It works. It's just really freaking loud. It's unbalanced. I need to change the filtration system. Yeah, I don't print that much. It's like I only print when people are paying me to print. So, but I'm not printing a whole lot. Typically, when I'm printing, it's for a couple of my buddies that are kit producers and doing their master prints and getting things ready for molding and casting. That's typically what I'm doing. It's kind of hard to paint full time and then also do the 3D printing because I do like to have some time off. Luckily, I'm not seeing. I'm seeing hardly any voxels. A little bit right there, a little layer line, but it's a great thing about prints with a lot of detail. Those all get hidden in the detail. If they're there, you don't see them. Depending on what time I get done with this step, if I get primer on this, let's look around lunchtime or after lunch, I could do the final inspection today. Because right now, this is going a little quicker than I anticipated. I think the base is going to take me a while. Yeah, I wouldn't mind if I was printing more, I'd probably get the new Saturn Ultra 4. I like the tilting resin vat because that's how the forms work. All the form printers, which greatly reduces any peel forces because it's gradually peeling away from the print rather than forcing it straight up and down. So why they didn't someone introduce that earlier kind of surprises me. This thing has so much great detail, man. It's such a great sculpt. Wicked really killed this piece, man. I don't think this is supposed to be there. I'm gonna cut that off. Looks like an error in the file right here. Like this weird jutting piece. I'm just gonna cut it off. I think there's a little error in the file right here. That should be fine. I don't think I need to do any. Nice. That'd be a nice project. I'm gonna be doing I've got a Merlin Models AT-AT in my stash for a client, and we just talked the other day. He's gonna get their AT-ST, and we're gonna do a big diorama with it, or do two individual pieces. But I'm kind of looking forward to that because I love Star Wars, and I've yet to ever build a Star. The last time I built a Star Wars model, I think I was 13. Um, yeah, this is looking really good. Nothing's just sticking out. How long have I been on? 2 hours. I'm gonna sign off, guys. It's been 2 hours. It's just me again sanding. Nothing exciting, but just get on for Tony for a little bit so he can watch his piece come to life. This kind of takes place of my doing YouTube videos. It's just easier to do this really than record and upload, and it's hard to do when I'm painting, but I'll record some of that when I paint. I still have a work in progress 2 video that I recorded, but it's just all this. It's sanding and gluing stuff. Like nothing crazy exciting. But thanks for hanging out, and yeah, start painting on Monday. It'll be nice. Catch you guys later. Bye.